The moment I saw my husband drop something into my soup, my entire life split into two parts. There was the life I had before that second, and the nightmare that came after it. My name is Emma Parker. I was 29 years old, happily married, or at least I thought I was. It happened during one of our usual Sunday dinners at my husband Ethan's family home. His mother made chicken noodle soup every week, and the entire family gathered around the table like some picture-perfect television family. I was reaching for my glass when I noticed movement from the corner of my eye. Ethan's hand hovered over my bowl. His fingers opened briefly, and something tiny slipped into the soup. It disappeared instantly beneath the broth. He never noticed me watching. A cold wave rolled through my body. I stared at the bowl in front of me. The steam rose gently. Everything looked normal. Around me, people laughed and talked. His father discussed golf. His sister talked about her children. Nobody seemed aware that something horrifying had just happened. Then Ethan looked at me. His smile was calm, but there was something behind it, something that made my stomach tighten. "You okay, babe? You look tired." I forced a smile. "Just a long week." He nodded and returned to the conversation, but every few seconds his eyes drifted back to my bowl. Waiting, watching. I suddenly realized he wanted me to eat it. My mind raced through every strange thing that had happened over the last few months. The late nights at work, the secret phone calls, the passwords he changed, the way he seemed distant one moment and overly affectionate the next. At the time, I had convinced myself it was stress. Now I wondered if it was guilt. I excused myself and walked to the bathroom. The second the door locked behind me, my hands began shaking. I pulled out my phone. Part of me wanted to call the police immediately. Another part knew exactly what they would ask. Proof. I had none. Only suspicion. I looked at my reflection and forced myself to breathe. If Ethan was trying to hurt me, I needed to stay calm. I needed to be smarter than him. When I returned to the dining room, everyone was distracted by conversation. Ethan's mother had gone to the kitchen to check dessert. Ethan glanced at his phone. Nobody was paying attention. That was when an idea flashed through my head. Before I could talk myself out of it, I quietly switched my soup bowl with the one sitting in front of his mother. The bowls were identical. When Ethan looked up, he saw me take a spoonful from what he believed was my soup. His shoulders relaxed. For the first time all evening, he seemed relieved. A few minutes later, his mother returned and sat down. Without hesitation, she began eating from the bowl that had originally been mine. The color drained from Ethan's face. "Mom, wait." She looked confused. Wait for what? His mouth opened and closed. Nothing. Just save room for pie. I watched panic spread across his features. The next several minutes felt endless. Then his mother started coughing. At first it seemed harmless. A minute later, she looked pale. Another minute passed, and she pressed a hand against her chest. "Something feels wrong." The room instantly changed. Concern replaced laughter. His sister stood up. His father reached for the phone. Then Ethan's mother collapsed. Chaos erupted around the table. People shouted for help. Someone called an ambulance. Through all of it, I watched only one person. My husband. He looked terrified. Not because his mother was dying, because she had eaten the poison intended for me. The ambulance arrived quickly and rushed her to the hospital. Ethan rode with her while the rest of us remained behind. The moment the house emptied, I went back to the dining room. The soup bowls were still there. My instincts screamed at me not to waste the opportunity. I found containers in the kitchen and carefully collected the remaining soup from both bowls. I sealed everything and hid the evidence inside my purse. Then I called the last person I ever expected to contact. My brother, Michael. We had not spoken in years after a family disagreement, but he worked in a medical laboratory. When he answered, I immediately asked for help. His questions came fast, but I refused to explain over the phone. "Just test these samples, please." Something in my voice convinced him. Within 30 minutes, he arrived and took the containers away. The longest night of my life began. Around 3 in the morning, Ethan finally came home from the hospital. His mother had survived. Doctors believed she had suffered some kind of cardiac event. As we sat together in the darkness of our living room, Ethan confessed that he had massive financial problems. More than $200,000 in debt. He spoke about failed investments and bad decisions. He acted ashamed, broken, desperate. Then he held my hand and promised we would get through it together. I almost believed him. Almost, until I remembered. The $1 million life insurance policy he had convinced me to sign 6 months earlier. The next morning, after he left for the hospital, I searched everything. His office, his computer, his files. What I found confirmed my fears. Loan notices, collection threats, evidence of gambling losses. He was drowning financially. Then my phone rang. It was Michael. His voice sounded grim. The soup contained extremely high levels of digitalis. I sat down immediately. I knew it was a heart medication, but Michael explained that in large doses it could stop a heart completely. Someone intentionally put it there. There was no doubt. For a moment, I simply stared at the wall. My husband had tried to murder me. The realization felt almost unreal. Then another piece of the puzzle fell into place. Later that day, Ethan texted me asking if I could pick up medications for his mother. One prescription on the list caught my attention instantly. Digitalis, the same drug found in the soup. My blood ran cold. That was where he had gotten it. Not only that, but suddenly months of unexplained symptoms made sense. The dizziness, the headaches, the fatigue. He had probably been poisoning me slowly for a very long time. I delivered the medications to his parents' house that afternoon. While everyone was distracted, I quietly followed Ethan upstairs. I heard movement inside the bathroom. Bottle caps, pills rattling, then a grinding sound. I pulled out my phone and started recording. When I opened the door, Ethan stood at the counter holding a mortar and pestle. White powder coated the inside. Several pills sat nearby. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I asked the obvious question. What are you doing? He offered an excuse about organizing medication. Neither of us believed it. I confronted him with everything. The soup, the toxicology report, the insurance policy, the debts, the months of strange illnesses. As I spoke, his expression slowly changed. The caring husband disappeared. The man underneath finally revealed himself. You figured it out, he said quietly. The words sent a chill through me. I told him I had evidence. He laughed. He claimed no court would believe me. He said the recording meant nothing. He said I could not prove intent. Then he took a step closer, and another. His eyes had become completely cold. You should have eaten the soup, Emma. The sentence hit harder than any physical blow. Then he grabbed me. My phone crashed onto the floor. I slammed against the wall, his hands wrapped around my throat. The room blurred. I fought for air while darkness crept into the edges of my vision. He was not trying to scare me. He was trying to finish what he started. Then another voice shattered the moment. Ethan. What are you doing? His mother stood in the doorway. Behind her was his father. Both had heard enough. Ethan released me instantly. I collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath. His mother looked from me to the crushed pills on the counter. Tears filled her eyes. You poisoned me. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. You were supposed to kill your wife, and you poisoned me instead. For the first time, Ethan had nowhere left to hide. His parents had seen everything. His excuses collapsed. His lies collapsed. His entire world collapsed. A few moments later, he ran from the house. His father immediately called the police. I handed officers the recording, the toxicology results, financial documents, and every piece of evidence I had collected. 3 hours later, Ethan was arrested while attempting to flee. The investigation uncovered even more. Medical tests showed traces of digitalis in my body stretching back several months. The prosecutors proved he had been slowly poisoning me while preparing for one final fatal dose. The trial lasted months. His defense team fought hard. They tried to paint me as paranoid, They tried to blame the poisoning on misunderstandings and accidents. But facts are stubborn things. The evidence kept pointing in one direction, toward Ethan. The jury needed only a short time to reach a verdict. Guilty, attempted murder, multiple counts. When the sentence was read, I felt no joy, no triumph, only relief. The nightmare was finally over. Afterward, Ethan's mother approached me outside the courtroom. She hugged me tightly while tears rolled down her cheeks. "I am sorry," she whispered. "You have nothing to apologize for." Then she thanked me for saving her life. I looked at her for a long moment before answering. The truth was much simpler. She had saved mine. If she had not walked into that bathroom at exactly the right moment, I probably would not be here telling this story. Today, I live in a different city with a different life. I am healing. Trust does not come easily anymore. Maybe it never will. But I wake up every morning grateful for something most people never think about. One decision. One tiny decision. The moment I noticed a hand moving above my soup and chose not to ignore it. That single choice changed everything. It exposed a monster hiding behind a wedding ring. And it kept me alive.